Hello and welcome back. In this video, I'm going to be showing you how to pass in parameters in a function. So let's go down to our Visual Studio Code. In our last section, I showed you how to create a custom function. So that's what we did right here. We created a custom function, say something, and we created another function, calculate. So I also showed you how to call a function. Okay, so when you create a function, you also need to call the function. Now the call function is going to go into the function and execute the task that we have inside of the function. Also, I showed you how to call a function right inside of another function. Now that's quite very simple, and I believe you have a good understanding on what we did previously. Now in this section, I'm going to be showing you how to pass in parameters into a function. Now let's go and create a new file. So click in here. So say parameter underscore function dot php. Alright, we're here. So let's create our doc structure, HTML doc structure, and we have here our PHP syntax. Alright, now we are good to go. Now before we start, I'm just going to give you a brief explanation of what is going to happen here. Now when we talk about parameters, we say parameters are things like variables that we pass into a function. Okay, there are variables that are passed into of a function. Then also it kind of make it more flexible than just the custom, than just the last function I showed you, the last one I showed you. It makes it more flexible. All right, let me not use too much English and confuse you. The bottom line is that it makes your function flexible. Okay, it makes it more flexible than what was initially what I initially showed you in the last section. Now let's move on and let me show you this. So we have function. We're going to create a function. We're going to call it add numbers. Okay, now we have our parentheses right here. So right here we're going to have add numbers, which we all know that this is the color. Now what we have here is the function, and we have the name, which is called add numbers. Now how does this parameter comes into this function? Now inside this opening and closing parentheses is where the parameters are going to come in. Okay, that's where the parameters will be passed in. Now they are, you can have more than one parameters in, so let's just put something there. So let's say we have number. You know, I told you variables are passed into here as parameters. So we have number 1 comma, so don't forget to put the $ when trying to do this. So put number 2. Okay, now what we have here is 2 parameters here, and they are in the form of a variable. Now for this to be executed, for this to work, you should know that we don't have a number, a value assigned to this variable yet. Okay, but firstly, before we assign a number to this variable, let's go into the function and let's put in a tax. Okay, it's not about just having these numbers in here that matters. It's not about having the parameters, the number, the values, the parameters in here that matters. What matters here is what kind of tax are you willing to execute with these parameters. Now let's go in the function. Now I'm going to have a variable sum, and I'm going to assign the addition of the two tags, parameters. Sorry for that. So we just have plus, and just have numbers. Just showing you how to use this. Okay, so we have this right here, and it's quite looking very, very, very cool. Okay, so let's just do echo sum. Put a semicolon at the end of the variable. Now we have our tags right in here. So we have the number 1 adding number 2. Then we assign it. We assign this number 1 and number 2 to the variable sum. Then we come down it here, and we output the variables, the addition of the two variables. Now, how do we actually pass in the values that we have here? Because we are just seeing variables, and there are no values. So how do we do that? If we come down here, we have the add numbers color right here. So this is the color here, the color of this function. Now in this color is where we are going to pass in the values that we have already assigned, we're going to pass in the values of the parameters. Okay, no need of speaking big grammars. I know you are getting it. So just in this add numbers color, we're just going to pass in the variables, the values. So we just put 20, comma, let's put 45. Put a semicolon at the end, don't forget that. Now what we have here, the first value we have here is assigned to the parameter number 1. The second value here we have here is assigned to the parameter number 2. So that's just how these particular parameters work. Okay, so we see the difference that we have when just using the function. That's the first video I created on the function. We see the difference that we are seeing right here. Now introducing the parameter to the function is quite very easy. Now let's move on to our browser, and let's check out what we have. So just come here. Okay, alright, so we have parameters underscore function.php. So we're going to click in here. Then we see the result of that is 65. Okay, very easy. Now let's go back to our Visual Studio Code, and I can also create other values here. So we just take this and just say 50, and let's put, we have 65. Don't forget to put echo break. Alright, let's go back and let me show you that. Alright, so you see that we have another values right here. So we just have this already declared right here. We have this already declared, and what we just need to do is to always call the function and assign different values to the function. So that's when we can also get the most out of this particular function. Now that will be the end of this, and thank you for your time. I hope you have a good understanding of what we did, and see you in our next session. Bye for now.